What's up, you guys? It is Mike here, and in today's video, I'm going to be discussing with you guys about an article that just got released, talking about some new changes that Konami just announced for the new Master Rule that's going to be taking effect this April 1st, 2020. And I just kind of wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about some of the new changes that they announced, what they're going to be like, how it's going to affect the game, and so on. And before we get into the video, I just want to let you guys know that if you guys do enjoy this, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends so that they will be informed about these new rules as well. And definitely leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you guys think about these changes and how do you think they'll affect the game. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about them here. So we were just thinking that that the extra deck rules that were announced, being that, if you guys have been living on the rock, you would probably know, you probably won't know, that Konami recently announced during one of the big anime fiestas in Japan about the new Master Rule, being the big major chain saying that Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz monsters can now just go into the main monster zone without any link markers, and links and pendulums are still gonna be, under the same rule as they currently are right now at the time recording in this video. But it looks like Konami has way more changes than we thought, and we're just here to discuss about them here in this article that that just got released. And I will be linking well, I'll be putting a link. I'm sorry, guys. I will be putting a link in the description below so you guys can read the changes here. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and go over the basic changes and discuss about what they said here. So these changes that they're releasing, the new Master Rule, are all going to be taking effect, as I said, in April 1st. And there's going to be 4 major changes with this release coming by April. And for now, this is only going to be happening in the OCG, and there is no confirmation yet at the time of recording about this coming to the TCG. I would be expecting it to be coming maybe in tandem with the OCG on the same day, being that the Master Rule is being announced on the same day as the TCG. So there is a good chance that maybe it might get released on the same day as the OCG, or it probably won't. Maybe it might just come like a few weeks or maybe a few months after the rules with the OCG take into effect. But I will be updating you guys if that ever changes and if ever there's any confirmation on that. But for now, let's go ahead and I'll talk about these changes that they made. So the first change that they are going to be making is here. They're saying that it's regarding the activation of monster effects for monsters returned to the deck or extra deck face down. So just to summarize, guys, what this talks about, in the current Master Rule that we're under now, usually if a monster is either like flipped face down, returned to the deck, or if there's like a monster that was summoned from the extra deck goes back into the extra deck, usually there are some effects wherein even though they upon summon, even if they get flip face down or changed in any sort of position, like going back to a different place other than the field, usually their effects would still be able to go through. And in this example, they used something like Absolute Zero, and then in the old way of resolving this effect, now it's like if you summon Absolute Zero on its summon effect, it would be able to allow you to destroy all monsters your opponent controls, but well, not on summon, if it only leaves the field. And in this case, they said that if Absolute Zero is summoned and your opponent activates Compulse on you to bounce it back to your hand, which obviously it won't go to your hand, it will go to the extra deck. Usually its effect would still be able to resolve, considering that it still left the field. However, in this new ruling, when you summon a monster like Absolute Zero and return it to the extra deck using something like Compulse, its effect to destroy all monsters actually will not activate. So I can see this being a really big change for a lot of different decks, and this actually kind of makes sense when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, because uh, unlike now, we're like, even if something leaves and like it just still gets its effect to get triggered off somehow, it still kind of doesn't really make sense in a way, if you think about it, that their effects still get to go off even though they're no longer in the field anymore. But with something like this, it almost makes it more like a realistic change, being that, you know, if that card is not on the field and it isn't able to fully resolve its effect, it can't really like do what it's supposed to do. So with something like this, it kind of makes sense that Absolute wouldn't be able to do anything if it left the field, even though its effect says that if this card leaves the field, it would make more sense if it went somewhere like maybe the graveyard or something like that. But if it goes to a place like the extra deck, you would think it wouldn't make sense for its effect to, you know, destroy all your opponent's monsters to be able to go off. So with something like this, it makes it more of a realistic change to, you know, fit the way, you know, the play style is and how your game state progresses. And this also includes mandatory effects, is what it says here, which is a bit interesting, because I would be thinking mandatory effects would still be able to go through, but apparently they don't now. So that's just one of them. And the next change we're going to be talking about is regarding the activation of card effects that move away from the activation location before their effects activate. So in the current Master Rule that we're in, for the TCG at least, that, you know, that North America goes by at least, there are some rulings in the TCG wherein, like, if a monster, or like, you know, if there's a certain card effect that needs to activate in a specific location, it needs to be in that location to be able to resolve its effect, like, properly. From what I've heard and from the articles I read, the TCG EU doesn't actually follow that ruling. They actually still go by the ruling wherein, like, even if it like leaves a certain activation location from somewhere else, it would still be able to get its effect to pop off. So in this example, they use something, the example that they use here is, in the old way, if you tribute Sangan for using a card like Crush Card Virus, which is very fitting for today's topic, and your opponent activates DD Crow on you as Chainlink 2 to banish the Sangan from the graveyard, in the old way, Sangan would still be able to activate its effect even though it's leaving the graveyard. But in this new way, in this new Master World that's coming out soon, instead of Sangan, instead of the effect being able to resolve, considering the fact now that Sangan left the graveyard, its effect to, you know, being able to add like a monster with a 1,500 or more attack won't be able to trigger because it left the graveyard. So in this case, the OCG, and like now, if this ever gets implemented to the TCG EU, will now be able to follow the same kind of rulings that the TCG NA is already following. And this isn't a really big change for them, to be honest. It does come up every now and then. I can see it being somewhat relevant in some matches, but overall, it just, yeah, it's changes like this that give cards like DD or like anything that makes things move from one place to another, like really good like buffs when the new Master Rule comes. So like now, it makes DD Crow look like such an OP card, considering that now you can stop your opponent's card effects from activating grave, getting them from like doing anything. And yeah, it just makes cards like DD Crow become like overpowered over sudden. And we'll see how much this will translate into the TCG as, you know, the Master Rule will take into effect. And the third change that they mentioned here is regarding the normal or special summon of a monster in relation to card effects that mentioned during the turn you activate this card or effect. So in the current Master Rule that we're in, you guys have probably heard me say this too many times now. But anyways, in the current way that we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh right now, there are some cards here that say during the turn you activate this effect, you cannot special summon monsters except blank monsters, which you will probably see in a lot of cards like like on the top of my head, I can think of something like maybe Fusion Destiny for heroes, where like if you activate this, you can't summon any special summon any monsters except Dark Heroes, something like that. Or you would see something, or you would see other cards like let's say during the turn you activate this card, you cannot summon monsters except with this card's effect. In this change, what they're saying here is that when you try to use cards like that that would allow you to do certain things and lock you in that certain like summoning condition or something, um we're in, right now, if you would try to do something like that, activate something like that, and then like you get say like Solemn Judgment, for example, to negate like a summon or to gain like a spell or trap or something that lets you do that. Normally right now, after you do that, after even though you attempted to summon something, that for the rest of that turn after you activate that card and it gets negated, normally you wouldn't be able to do anything. You'd still be under that lock, so that attempted summon would still be able to count against you even though it didn't fully resolve. But unlike now, with this new ruling, what they're saying here is that even though you activated that card to attempt to summon that thing or activate that effect and you're locked into that summoning condition, it actually will not count against you anymore, and you will still be able to go ahead and activate another one, just another card similar to that or another copy of that card anyway, to be able to attempt to activate that effect and, you know, still not be under that lock. So like in this example here, they're saying like in the old way of resolving this, you can't activate Rage of Eyes with blue, which if you guys don't know, lets you summon 3 blue eyes white dragons from like your deck. And during the turn, you normal summon a maiden with Eyes of Blue that was negated by Solemn Judgment. So like in this example, wherein like if you summon something like Maiden and it gets negated by Solemn Judgment, if you would try to activate something like Rage with Eyes of Blue, you wouldn't be able to go ahead and activate another Rage because of the fact that Maiden was negated. Its summon was negated, so its attempted summon will still count against you. But in this new way of resolving this, it won't actually count against you. So in a sense, just to make it easier for you guys to understand, you're sort of getting rid of attempted summons to be counted against you and would let you still do activate cards similar to that, even though like a summon or an activation of a card like that didn't go through. So this is actually a really good change for a lot of different decks, obviously. And the fact that you are not able to be locked into that thing, locked into that summoning condition, even though you only attempted to activate it, even though it got negated, it still kind of like rewards you in a sense that even though it didn't go through, you still have another chance to make your board or like, you know, use that card to advance your game state, which is really good because honestly, with restrictions like this, after activating something like saying like you're getting Ash by a card or something like that and not being able to special summon or being able to do anything or like activate any cards with that name for the rest of the turn or something like that, this actually is really good because it kind of alleviates the problem of being what an attempted summon could be and what a summon is when it fully resolved. So yeah, it's kind of really good and I really do enjoy this change. This is actually one of my more favorite changes right now in this new master rule revision here, and I'm honestly really enjoying this. So at least now you're not punished for cards that don't get resolved, and still you get a chance to like being able to activate another copy of that if you have another one in your hand, or like you can get another from your deck or something. And the next one here that we're going to talk about is regarding the special summoning of monsters that say they can only be special summoned once per turn. So kind of like what the other ruling said before this one, there are certain cards where like they say you can only special summon blank, in this case being any monster, once per turn. And sometimes in the current ruling that we're in now, if you would try to summon one monster and like it gets negated, and its summon gets negated with something like Judgment, Strike, or whatever, normally you wouldn't be able to attempt to summon another monster like that for the rest of the turn, even though you only attempted to summon it. Even though that attempted summon didn't go through, that lock about not being able to special summon that kind of monster would still count against it. You wouldn't be able to summon another. However, unlike now, just like the previous one that we talked about just a while ago, that attempted summon will no longer count against you under this new master rule. So in this example, if you try to like summon something like High Speed Void on Chambara, and if its summon gets negated by Judgment, you would still be able to attempt to summon another one if it didn't go through, because that attempted summon is no longer counting against you. So just like we alleviated to before, attempted summons in the LCG now are kind of like going away, and it's just it's making things less complicated, and gives you a better chance to advance your game state and build your board to make it what it's designed to be, depending on your deck. And that's really good, because honestly, this is actually one of the biggest or more complicated changes that are really hard to explain to new players who don't understand when you're attempting to summon something and fully being able to summon that monster, which is really good, because now that the fact that attempted summons are almost becoming irrelevant at this point, it makes it really easy to understand that you can still be able to summon another monster just like that, even though the other one didn't go through, so that you're not being punished for not being able to have that certain like monster or having that certain card summon that monster from your deck, your field, or whatever. And the last one here, it's not too relevant, but it kind of makes sense here. The last change we're going to be talking about, now that I think about it, I think this is 5 changes. The last one here is going to be about regarding continuous traps being able to be special summoned from the spell and trap zone to your monster zone by their own effects. So with cards like Embodiment of Apophis, or if you want to think of like a more modern example, I would think of something like some of the Paleozoics, like Candina, or maybe Shaddoll Core, I guess. And I'm just thinking from the top of my head. Normally now, if you summon a monster like that, a trap that acts like a monster, that trap would still be that trap that's treated as a monster would still be able to occupy all your spell and trap zone. But with this new ruling, it doesn't. It just now frees up your spell and trap zone and lets you be able to activate spells and traps, or set spells and traps in that same zone. So like now, if you have like 5 like Paleozoic like trap monsters like set face down, you can activate them, and instead of them occupying your spell and trap zone, they're all freed up now, and you can just like potentially set like maybe 4 or 5 more back row after summoning them. And with the new rulings that I read online about what would happen if you activate something like Book of Boon on a trap monster, normally now, based on the findings I heard from like many videos online after reading this, they said if you would try to like activate something like Book of Moon to flip a trap monster like face down, instead of being flipped face down like a normal monster would, it would try to attempt to go back to the spell and trap zone, and if there's no space, it would just go to the graveyard. So sometimes that could be relevant, sometimes it can't be. I honestly don't feel like this will be too relevant in today's format, considering the fact that no one really plays trap monsters, but this could potentially be a really good boost with the new Eldritch archetype that just got released for the OCG, and that will potentially give you more ways to advance your game state, make a bigger board and all that stuff. I don't think this is going to be too relevant, because honestly, if you're not playing Paleos or playing like Shaddoll Core like I mentioned earlier, and this won't really matter to you as much, but considering the fact that you can do this now, it's just there. And that is it, guys. Those are all the new changes that just got announced for the new Master Rule taking effect in April 1, 2020. I really hope you guys did enjoy this. I'm honestly liking a lot of these new changes. They They're getting a lot of positive feedback from a lot of YouTubers that I've seen so far. And overall, these changes are very welcoming. They address a lot of the problems that some card effects have in the current game. And I really do hope they do translate to the TCG pretty soon, so that we're all just under one window and can follow all the symbols at the same time. But either way, guys, that is it. Those are just gonna that is just gonna be my discussion here about the new Master Rule April 1, 2020 revision changes that are going to be taking effect by next month. If you guys did enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Again, share it with your friends to let them know about what's happening here. And let me know in the comments below if you guys do enjoy more videos like this, or what you guys think of these changes. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Are they really good? Do you think they are terrible? I really would love to hear your thoughts down below. And if you guys do enjoy my content and want to see more videos like this, feel free to give this feel free to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you guys don't miss out anytime I upload videos. And that is going to be it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Sanaric45 signing off.